going on? My name's Joe, and welcome to part 1 of my collection room tour. I've been doing YouTube videos about movies, comic books, and action figures for about a year now. And if you've seen any of those, then you might recognize some of these cabinets behind me. These are Detolf cabinets from IKEA, and I like them because they look nice, simple, and clean. A lot of collectors use these IKEA Detolf cabinets for their collections, and I'd been wanting some for a long time, but the shipping costs were more than the cabinets themselves. Fortunately, IKEA opened up a new store several years ago near my house, and since then I've been picking up 2 or 3 of these at a time. Before we get started, I'd like to talk about Toys R Us for a minute. So I'm sure that you've heard that Toys R Us is going out of business, and even though I've done my fair share of bitching and moaning about them, I'm still sad to see them go. Now, I'm no expert by any means, but the way I understand it is that some other companies like Bain Capital bought Toys R Us back in 2005 and sloughed billions of dollars worth of debt onto them. Obviously, online retailers like Amazon are affecting most brick and mortar stores, and kids just don't play with toys the way that they used to, like when you and I were kids. So even when Toys R Us was turning a profit, they just couldn't keep up with the interest on this enormous debt. It seems like Bain Capital and some of these other companies just threw Toys R Us under the bus. And yes, Toys R Us is a big corporation too, but they employ thousands of middle-class people who are going to be losing their jobs soon. So while a lot of collectors are worried about whether or not they're going to be able to get their MCU, Scarlet Witch, and Vision 2-pack, for instance, there's a lot of people who might not be able to make rent or might miss a meal because of corporate greed. Now, I don't mean to bring you down, but I did want to mention it because my heart goes out to anybody who's facing unemployment, especially if it's because some rich corporate asshole is screwing people over so they can keep getting richer. And I hope all the people that work at Toys R Us all land on their feet. Alright, so now that I've got that off my chest, let's get back to the collection room tour. I think I'm going to start right above the door over on this side. Cheers. So first off, right above the door are a couple of pencil drawings I did back when I was in high school. There's a Jack Nicholson Joker for the 1989 Batman movie, and there's my follow-up, Danny DeVito Penguin, and Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman from Batman Returns. I think I did pretty well with the Joker and Penguin likenesses, but not so much with the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. Between them is a shadow box with unofficial, real metal batarangs and sharpened metal Joker playing cards that I bought from an Asian gift store. Next is a plate rack with a couple of Alex Ross plates that my best friend Matt bought for me for Christmas back when we were in high school. My friend Matt didn't know anything about comics, so while we were Christmas shopping, I pointed out the Titans plate, and I told him how the art was by this dude named Alex Ross, and how he was one of my favorite comic book artists. So later my friend Matt bought this Titans plate behind my back and surprised me with it. Then the next year he got me the Metal Men plate. And that was really nice of him, especially because back then we didn't have any money and those plates were really, really expensive. So I've always given them a special place of honor in my collection. Next to that is my Superman at War poster by Jerry Ordway that I got from Mile High Comics while I was on vacation in Colorado with my folks. This was in the days before internet and smartphones. My dad was trying to find Mile High Comics. We wound up in an industrial part of town at this warehouse, and we knocked on the door, and the people there said it was actually the warehouse for Mile High Comics. They let us come inside for a minute and check it out, and just imagine a Costco, but instead of like food and stuff, it was filled from floor to ceiling with comic books. It was really, really crazy. So they were really cool. They gave us directions to the actual store, and that's when I got this poster. And it's still one of my favorite images of Superman. On top of the first Detolf cabinet, we have a couple of Star Wars lunchboxes in back. Now, I have a bunch of lunchboxes, and I used to keep them on display on top of my kitchen cabinets at my old house. But when my wife and I bought this house together, she wouldn't let me keep my lunchboxes in our new kitchen. So they're down here with the rest of my collection now. And before you start thinking that I'm bad-mouthing my wife, she bought me these DC Collectibles animated Superman and Lois Lane figures for Valentine's Day. So that's really cool, and I'm stoked to add them to my collection. In the center is the Kotobukiya Bishoju She-Hulk statue. She-Hulk is one of my favorite Marvel characters, and unfortunately there's just not a lot of She-Hulk stuff out there for collectors, so I'm really happy to have this. The paintwork in particular is nearly flawless. And I don't have a lot of Kotobukiya statues, but the quality of the few things that I do have is superb. So if you're thinking about buying one, I highly recommend it. I think they're really well worth the money. Next is a couple of Marvel Legends Black Panther figures. There's the blue shaded one that everybody bitches about, that I quite like. And there's the newer Walmart exclusive version that I picked up a couple weeks ago on clearance for $9. I popped the movie Baron Mordo head on him for an unmasked T'Challa. My wife and I went to go see the Black Panther movie recently, and we both really enjoyed it. This isn't the permanent home for these figures, but when I get new stuff, I tend to keep it on top of one of these shelves for a while, unless it's going straight into a display cabinet. Eventually, I plan on getting a few more detolf cabinets for another room in my basement and putting these 6-inch figures in there. Next to the door is an original drawing I did. I like to think of it as like the history of Robin. So there at the bottom, you've got Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and then Damian Wayne. Obviously, it's not all the Robins from the comic books, but it's the 4 main ones. And I did that with an ink pen, and then I filled in all the black spaces with Sharpie. Up next is my Batman 1989 display. In the back there is my Hot Toys 1/6 scale Michael Keaton Batman. On each side of him is the NECA NES video game Batman figure that I repainted to look like a traditional blue and gray costume from the comic books, and then I painted one all black to look like he did in the movie. That was before NECA had the Toys R Us exclusive movie accurate Batman available. In the center is the DC Universe Classics all black Batman that I think is supposed to be an homage to the original Toy Biz Batman based on the 1989 movie. And at the bottom there is my Hot Wheels 1/18 scale 1989 Batmobile with the machine guns flipped up. That's one of my favorite die-cast models in my collection. Alright, next up is my comic book style Thor collection. In the back is my custom Heimdall figure that I made from a couple of created WWE Superstar sets. His sword is the one that came with the Marvel Legends Ragnarok movie 2-pack with Thor and Valkyrie that I bought on clearance recently. Then we have the Odin Build-A-Figure, one of only 2 Build-A-Figures that I've actually completed. He's a really disappointing figure, and I took a bath reselling the Sentry and Iron Fist figures to recoup some of my money. There's the Kate Blanchett Hela figure standing in as a comic book style Hela figure, because I don't want to pay crazy scalper prices for the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Hela. That's a really great figure, and she doesn't look too far off from the artwork in some of my Thor comics. There's a custom Frost Giant that I made from a Funko Legacy Magic the Gathering figure that I bought on clearance. And I'm sure I'm going to catch hell from this from all the scale Nazis, but I know he's not in scale, and I don't really care. I think he looks cool, and I never understood how Loki is the son of a Frost Giant, but he's the same size as a regular Asgardian, when all the Frost Giants are being depicted as being as tall as a building. It just never made any sense to me. Here's my custom Volstagg figure that I made from a couple of fat guy WWE wrestlers. I'm pretty happy with that custom. There's the Walmart exclusive Loki that came out after the first Thor movie. And if you need a comic book style Loki for your collection, just wait until Hasbro makes a new one. Don't pay eBay scalper prices for this guy, because he's not that great. He's okay looking, but his articulation is terrible. There's the Hulkbuster Wave Valkyrie that I bought when she first came out. I sold the Hulkbuster part on eBay and made back most of my money on her. There's the Dormammu Wave Enchantress that I picked up on clearance. In the center is the Marvel Select Mighty Thor figure that came with that really kick-ass spinning hammer effect. He looks just like the artwork by Asad Ribic from Jason Aaron's Mighty Thor run. Next to him is my custom Lady Sif figure that's basically just a repainted DCUC Big Barda figure. And finally there's my Gladiator Hulk Build-A-Figure Wave Jane Foster Thor figure. I got some extra space in the front here for a custom Fandro and a custom Hogan figure that I've got planned. And I'm really stoked that the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Malekith the Accursed is getting reissued as a single carded figure later this year. Saves me the trouble of making a custom Malekith. The diorama base was made from cheap insulation styrofoam that I cut out with a wood burning tool to make the edges all jagged. I glued it together and I coated it with sheetrock patch. Then I spray painted the whole thing black and dusted it with white spray paint. So maybe it could be Jotunheim or just some other gray stone environment. The blue lightning bolts are all custom too. Basically I just save up all the twisty ties that come with my action figures and different toys that I buy. I wound a bunch of them together in different shapes and I dip them in white Plastidip and then I dip them in clear blue tinted plastic dip. So they're a little bendy and posable. Next to that on the wall is a drawing I did of Suicide Squad Harley Quinn. I didn't really try to get the likeness to Margot Robbie because I was doing all these different comic and video game versions of Harley Quinn around her, and then I'd feel compelled to try and get her likeness for all of those different versions too, and I just kind of did a generic face for this one. I think it looks kind of cool. Next is half of my Ghostbusters display. This collection is one of my holy grails or white whales because when I was a kid, I always wanted a set of Ghostbusters that looked like they did in the first movie. I liked the real Ghostbusters cartoon show, and I had some of those figures too, but I always wanted ones in the khaki flight suits from the movie. From the neck down, these guys are the Walmart exclusive figures that came out in 2016 to capitalize on the reboot movie, so they are all uniform in color, and they all have the removable proton packs. But the heads on those figures didn't have very good paint, so I swapped them for the heads from the Matty Collector subscription figures because I like the skin tone and the paint better on those. The proton streams are made of blue and red colored wire that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and this is the only Diamond Select Terror Dog that I could find. This is the Toys R Us exclusive version that doesn't include the rooftop parts. I'd like to get another one if I could find one, even though I don't know how I'd squeeze it in here. The display base is from a company called Action Figure Displays, which sadly is no longer in business. On the bottom shelf is a random collection of oddball Marvel stuff that doesn't really fit in anywhere else in my collection. In the back are Marvel icons, Thor, and Dr. Doom figures that I found for $11 each at this weird store called Cargo Largo that sells what's left of damaged boxes or pallets, and they always have random weird shit in there. You can usually find a pretty good deal. Then we have some Marvel Select movie Wolverines, Marvel Select Daredevil, Ghost Rider, Deadpool. There's Doctor Strange in front. Then we have a custom Lawyer She-Hulk figure that I made from a WWE figure, a Guardians Wave 1 Nova, a repainted X2 Nightcrawler that I bought on eBay, and he was in rough shape, so I kind of touched him up a little bit. There's a Dakin figure that I turned into a regular Wolverine with real metal claws, and the All-Father Wave Hawkeye figure. Alright, up top again we have the Jada Nano Scene Batcave playset, decked out with my Hot Wheels 150 scale Batman and Batman Returns Bat vehicles. I did a really in-depth review of this playset a while back, so if you're interested in finding out more about this, then you should check that video out after you finish this one. Next to that is the new Marvel Legends Iron Man figure from the Black Panther movie wave. He might be my new favorite Iron Man figure. I'm not sure why people bitch about that canon, because I think it adds a little variety to this figure. And like I said, this isn't going to be his permanent home, but I don't have a proper Hall of Armor display to put him in right now. Here are my Avengers movie figures on a custom display base that I try to make look like busted concrete and rubble from the Battle of New York. In the back is the Marvel Select movie Thor figure, which I think sports a better likeness to Chris Hemsworth than the Hasbro version. There's the Marvel Select movie Hulk, and I prefer his size to the Hasbro version. There's the Walmart exclusive Battle Damaged Iron Man. Then we have the Walmart exclusive Hawkeye, and I prefer this one over the one from the Amazon set because of the sunglasses. Hasbro didn't do a very good likeness on the Amazon version in my opinion. Then we have the Toys R Us exclusive Maria Hill, the Walmart exclusive Captain America, the Mandroid Build-A-Figure Wave Black Widow, the Agent Coulson figure from the Toys R Us exclusive 3-pack, and the Walmart exclusive Nick Fury that came out in support of the first Captain America movie. The rocket launcher is from a Dark Knight Joker figure, and unfortunately, that Nick Fury figure can't really hold it up to his right shoulder because of the limited articulation in his arms. So I put it in his left hand, even though it doesn't make as much sense since that's the side with his bad eye. And yes, I know that Coulson was dead at this point in the movie. Maria Hill and Nick Fury weren't on the ground during the Battle of New York, but I don't care. I still think this setup looks a lot better with them in there. Okay, I'm skipping a shelf right now, but I'll get back to it in a few minutes. So here's the rest of my Ghostbusters stuff I have on display. In the back is the Diamond Select Mr. Stay Puft Coin Bank I picked up for $10 at that Cargo Largo place I told you about earlier. Then we have the 12-inch Peter Venkman figure I'm not much of a 1/6 scale collector, but I'll make an exception for something really special, or if I can get a good deal. And this falls into the good deal category. I think these figures originally sold for $60, but I got mine on sale for $20 or $30 from the Matty Collector website several years ago. Or else I probably wouldn't have bought this one. There's a Slimer figure that came with the very first Mattel Ghostbuster, which was the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Egon figure with the slimed outfit. There's my childhood Ecto-1 vehicle from Kenner's The Real Ghostbusters line. The body was really yellowed and the windshields were really scratched up and scuffed, so I repainted it and bought some replacement decals on eBay to make it a little bit more presentable. There's the Mattel Louis Tully figure that I got on clearance from the Matty Collector website, and there's an extra 1/64 scale Hot Wheels Ecto-1 car that I wound up with. Here's my DC Direct movie Watchmen collection on a custom display base diorama that I made. I made a video a few months ago where I talk about these figures, as well as my comic book style Watchmen figures, the Zack Snyder Watchmen movie, and all the Watchmen comic books I have in my collection. I feel like I have a pretty comprehensive collection now until the Doomsday Clock figures come out. Or maybe I should say if they come out, because it is DC Collectibles, so they could be canceled at any time. But until then, if you're interested in seeing these figures or the custom diorama in more detail, then check out my Watchmen collection video. Up above this detail off in the center is a print of the Death Dealer painting by Frank Frazetta, who is my all-time favorite artist. If you aren't familiar with his name, then just do a Google image search for Frank Frazetta art or Frazetta Girls, and I'm sure you'll recognize some of his artwork. He did a really famous Molly Hatchet album cover and tons of sci-fi and fantasy art for movie posters, book covers, magazines, and comics. He was a genius, and this is one of my favorite paintings of his. Below that we have a couple more of my Star Wars lunchboxes in back. Then we have a DC Collectibles holiday-themed anime-style Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy PVC statue that my wife bought me for our first wedding anniversary, so that's really special to me. And in front, here are the Funko 3 3/4 inch scale Stranger Things figures that my wife gave me this past Christmas, with the exception of the 11 figure with the blonde wig. That was a single-carded Chase figure I found at Target a while back. I really love these figures. They are a million times better than those shit-ass reaction figures Funko put out a few years ago. They have way better paint apps, more articulation, and the likenesses to the actors from the show are pretty solid for this scale figure. The only bad thing about them is that they have a hard time standing on their own, so I bought a set of Protect stands for them on Amazon. I really love those figures. The 11 figures even come with little Eggo waffle boxes. So next is one of the centerpieces to my collection, which is my Harley Quinn action figure collection. In the very back is the DC Collectibles Roller Derby Harley Quinn figure, and it's not a designer series figure necessarily, but it is very obviously based on Amanda Connor's artwork. Then we have the Dr. Harleen Quinzel figure from the DC Collectibles Arkham Origins video game line. That's the one that came in a 3-pack with the Electrocutioner and Lady Shiva. Next we have the classic Harley Quinn figure from the DC Universe Mad Love 2-pack. In the very center is my Play Arts Kai variant Harley Quinn figure, and I bought that figure from a local comic book convention a few years ago when it first came out, and I think it originally retailed for $120 or $130, but I got mine for $80. And I was really proud of that, so much so that I was bragging about it to my friend Chad at the local comic book shop, and he really burst my bubble when he told me he got one for $40. I only have a few Play Arts Kai figures, and this Harley Quinn is tied for my favorite along with a variant Wonder Woman. Up next we have the DC Collectibles Arkham Knight video game Harley Quinn in her classic costume. Then we have the Batman Legacy Arkham City Harley Quinn figure by Mattel. Next to her is the DC Collectibles Amanda Connor Designer Series Superhero Harley Quinn, which I picked up at a local comic book convention recently for $14. Then moving back over to the left side, on the second shelf down, is the NECA Arkham City Harley Quinn figure. And I was originally going to replace the Mattel version with the NECA version, but I like them both about equally, even though the NECA version has a much more attractive face. Next up we have the DC Direct Arkham Asylum Joker figure, flanked by a couple of DC Direct Arkham video game series Joker Clown Thugs. Basically, the only reason I picked these two guys up was because I got them really cheap online. And I'll probably remove them from this display as I get more Harley Quinn figures to put in their places. The Joker figure in the center was going for around $80 at one point, but fortunately DC Direct or DC Collectibles reissued it, and I was able to get it for regular retail price, which is around $20 or $25. Next up is the DC Collectibles Arkham Knight Harley Quinn figure, and she's really great. She has a lot of really great articulation, especially for a DC Collectibles figure. And in the very front on the left side is the Mafex Suicide Squad Harley Quinn figure. Then we have the SH Figure Arts Injustice video game Harley Quinn figure. And there's the DC Direct Arkham Asylum Nurse Harley Quinn. Then we have the DC Collectibles DC Icons Harley Quinn figure. And next to her is the SH Figure Arts Suicide Squad movie Harley Quinn figure. Down in front we have some Jada die-cast metal figurines and the Dustin Wynn, Batman, Little Gotham, Joker, and Harley Quinn figures with Bud and Lou. The back of this diorama display base is a piece of foam core board with some fabric stretched over it to make it look like curtains. And the tiered base that the figures are standing on is inexpensive styrofoam insulation that I covered with sheetrock patch and painted. And if you're interested in finding out more details about any of these figures, then stay tuned because I plan on making an in-depth video about my entire Harley Quinn collection in the near future. On the next shelf down is my Bat Family collection. Standing on a custom GCPD rooftop diorama, there's the DC Collectibles Huntress, Batman Legacy Batgirl, DC Multiverse Super Friends Batman, DC Universe Tim Drake Robin, DC Universe Nightwing, and the brand new DC Multiverse Batwoman figure. And they're all standing around the light-up, die-cast Bat Signal by Running Press. There's a review of that Bat Signal on my channel if you're interested. Below them in front is the Batman Unlimited Superpowers Penguin, the DC Universe Classics Joker, another DC Icons Harley Quinn figure, and the DC Universe Classics Riddler figure. So the reason why I skipped that other shelf earlier is because these three shelves with my Batman figures and my Batman Rogues Gallery are all part of one big display. Alright, so first off, from left to right, we have an old DC Direct Deadshot figure, and we have the old DC Superheroes Clayface figure with the rubber bendy arms, and I really like that figure a lot, but I wish that Mattel would reissue it with plastic articulated arms. Then we have the DC Universe Classics Killer Moth figure. We have the DC Club Infinite Earths Mattel subscription Ra's al Ghul figure in the front. Right behind him is a custom Talia al Ghul figure that I made. In the very back is another one of those Mattel subscription figures of Black Mask. Then we have a custom Bane figure that I made from a WWE Undertaker figure with the head and belt from the DC Universe Classics Collect and Connect Bane figure. Then we have the DC Multiverse Reaper figure. There's a review of that figure on my channel. It's really in-depth if you're interested in finding out more about him. Right in front of him is the Batman Legacy Mr. Freeze figure that I repainted to look more like the color scheme from Batman the Animated Series. Then at the top right is a custom Firefly figure that I made using a Marvel Legends movie Ant-Man as a base. And then again, towards the front is a DC Direct Nightfall Catwoman figure, and I just picked her up not too long ago at a local comic book convention. On the right side of my Bat Family is some more Gotham City Rogues. First up is a custom Two-Face figure that I made from a Batman Arkham Origins Black Mask figure by DC Collectibles, and the head sculpt is from a WWE wrestling figure that I customized. And I prefer when Two-Face's scarred side is green, and that's probably because I'm such a big fan of Batman the Animated Series. Right behind him is a DC Collectibles Red Hood and the Outlaws Red Hood figure that I customized, because I prefer Jason Todd Red Hood as a Bat Rogue as opposed to part of the Bat Family. So I covered up the Bat symbol on his chest, I cut off the weird blades on his gauntlets, and sculpted over them to give him sleeves. I also sculpted over his head to give him more of a motorcycle helmet look, like he had under the Red Hood. To the right of him is an old DC Superheroes Azrael figure, and above him is the DC Universe Classics Man-Bat. Moving back to the front is the DC Club Infinite Earths subscription Poison Ivy figure. And I would really love it if Mattel or DC Collectibles or somebody would make a regular Caucasian skin Poison Ivy figure. I think a lot of other collectors would prefer that over this green chlorophyll skin version of Poison Ivy. Right behind her is a Greg Capullo Designer Series Talon figure by DC Collectibles. Back in the front again is a DC Direct Hush Series Scarecrow figure with a head sculpt from the DC-UC Sinestro Corps Scarecrow. Right behind him is the Arkhamverse Hugo Strange. And behind him, in all red, is a custom Anarchy figure that I made from a DC Universe Classics Negative Man and a Green Lantern Classics Manhunter figure. Back in the front again is an old Mattel Killer Croc figure. And he's basically just a placeholder in my collection until someone makes a better Killer Croc figure or until I customize one. Right behind him is the DC Collectibles Arkham Origins Lady Shiva that came in a 3-pack with Dr. Harley Quinn and the Electrocutioner. Alright, so there you have it. There's my Batman Rogues gallery and my Bat family. I have lots of other Batman figures, but this is the majority of my Batman Rogues. The cutout buildings in the back are just made out of black foam core board. And I did that to make it more obvious that these 3 shelves are supposed to be part of one display to try and make it a little bit more cohesive. Okay, right below my Bat family and Batman Rogues gallery, here in the center, is my Aliens action figure collection. I did a really in-depth review of all these figures and the display base that I made for them a while back before Alien Covenant came out. So from left to right, in the very back, we have the big chap alien from the first Alien movie. We have a blue-tinted alien from Aliens 2. There's an alien with a glossy black dome. That's from a 2-pack. It was one of those Aliens vs. Predator Kenner homage sets that was exclusive to Toys R Us. That's really, really cool. And then there's that brown genocide alien. In front of them, from left to right, is Ripley from the original Alien movie. There's Ripley from Aliens. And there's Corporal Hicks from Aliens. I picked up a set of the NECA alien egg sacs. Those are really cool. And I've got the SH Figure Arts Tamashi flame effects around Ripley. So like I said, if you're interested in finding out more about these figures or the diorama, then check out my older Aliens collection review. Up next is my Marvel Legends Marvel Cinematic Universe collection. At the very top left is my Netflix Daredevil figure. Then we have the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 Rocket Raccoon figure on top of the Toys R Us exclusive Guardians of the Galaxy Groot. In the center is the Walmart exclusive Falcon figure from Captain America Civil War. Then we have a custom repainted Marvel Select Black Widow figure. Starting again from left to right is a Destroyer figure by Hasbro. This is one of those cheapy figures for kids. It has like 5 points of articulation. For a while, this figure was really hard to find and went for a lot of money on the secondary market, but I wound up waiting for a long time and I eventually got this figure for $15 at a local comic book convention. Next up, we have the Walmart exclusive Hulk figure from the first Avengers movie. Then we have an Iron Man 1 Ironmonger figure. Next we have the Walmart exclusive Loki figure from the first Avengers movie. Next to him is the Walmart exclusive helmeted Thor figure. In the very center is Captain America from the first Avenger. I think that was a Walmart exclusive also. Then we have Iron Patriot from Iron Man 3 and War Machine from Iron Man 2. Working our way back to the left is the Netflix Jessica Jones figure, the masked version of the Winter Soldier from the Mandroid wave. There's the stealth suit Captain America from Winter Soldier. Then we have Captain America from Civil War. And then there's the Walmart exclusive Iron Man figure from Iron Man 2 that I affectionately refer to as Hangover Tony. Next to him with the grenade launcher is the John Bernthal Punisher figure from the Netflix series. And right up in front is the inaccurate Ant-Man figure, the Spider-Man Homecoming figure with custom web lines, and the Captain America Civil War Black Panther figure. And I've also got some of the mini figures in front. There's Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket, and I have 3 different versions of Groot by Black Panther and Punisher. Up above the last 2 Detolf cabinets that I have along this wall is a Joker playing card drawing that I did a few years back. Obviously this is modeled after the way a king, queen, or a jack are printed onto playing cards. I did this drawing freehand with mechanical pencils, and I think I really nailed the likenesses on Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger. I had a photocopy made of the original pencil drawing, and I was going to display the original next to the copy turned upside down like this, but the off-white cream color of the paper looked off next to the stark white copy that I had, so I just had a second copy made so they would both have the same bright white background. But these are the exact same size as the original. I bought an inexpensive poster frame, and then I went to the Michael's Arts and Crafts stores to have these custom mats cut so the corners would be rounded so they would look more like playing cards. It's probably not coming across on the camera, but the purple mat on top is almost like suede or microfiber. It looks really, really cool. Right below the Joker playing card, on top of this detolf, is an odd collection of stuff. There's a Stranger Things lunchbox in the back. There's my Diamond Femme Fatale's Cassie Hack PVC statue from Hack/, comic book series, which is one of my favorite non-superhero comics. And there just isn't very much Hack/ stuff to collect, unfortunately. I wish someone would make Hack/ action figures. If you're interested in checking out some Hack/ comics, then I recommend picking up the first omnibus rather than the current Hack/ Resurrection series, because the new stuff is garbage. Then next to her is the new Marvel Legends Namor figure from the Black Panther movie wave. He's on a water flight stand that came with the old Toy Biz Namor figure. Right in front is the new Walgreens exclusive Marvel Legends Mr. Fantastic figure. There's a review of him on my channel if you're interested in seeing more about him. And then on the right is my Kotobukiya Superpowers Flash PVC statue with a custom yellow bendy lightning bolt that I made. Next up we have my little Firefly collection. In the very back is my Quantum Mechanics Malcolm Reynolds 12-inch figure. I think the likeness is just as good quality as most Hot Toys figures I've seen. I used to have some 12-inch Sideshow Star Wars figures, and I'd say from the neck down, this is just as good or better quality than any of those. I don't really collect 12-inch figures, but I had to make an exception for this because there just isn't a lot of Firefly merchandise available for collectors. Right below him is the Funko Legacy 6-inch scale Firefly figures. These figures are just so-so. The likenesses are fairly well done. In general, I think the sculpting and paint are okay, but you have to handle these figures with kid gloves because they use the same clear, brittle plastic for their joints that DC Collectibles used for a while, and that makes them a little fragile. But I like them well enough, and I really wish that Funko would come back and finish the rest of the crew. The rest of the stuff on this shelf came from the Firefly-themed loot crate, or cargo crate, and I have mixed feelings about it. My wife bought me a subscription to the cargo crate for a year, so I got a new box every 2 months. And it was really nice of her, I really appreciate the thought, but this cargo crate was generally disappointing. Every t-shirt that I got disintegrated immediately after like 1 or 2 washings. Most of the stuff that came in the cargo crate was just paper, like stickers, postcards, and this book in the back with blank pages. They came with generic Funko Pop style figures and these little figurines which are okay, but they aren't even in scale with each other. Up in the front towards the left is a little model of Serenity, and that's the best thing that came in a year's worth of loot crates, and probably the only thing that I would have bought for myself. Alright, skipping over my Batman shelf up here that I already showed you, here's my Spider-Man action figure collection. I did a really thorough review of my entire Spider-Man collection last year in anticipation of Spider-Man Homecoming. It's really long, it's like a 3-part review, so if you feel like checking that out, then I'd really appreciate it. And when I set this up, I didn't have a shelf big enough for all my Spider-Man figures, so I put them in these detolf cabinets next to each other, and with the clear glass, it kind of looks like one big display. On the first shelf here, we have Dr. Octopus in the back. There's the Sandman Wave Green Goblin, a custom Mary Jane Watson figure. Then hanging from the fire escape is a Black Cat figure. She just doesn't stand very well on her own, so I'm using her hair to kind of clip her onto that fire escape like she's jumping down. We have that Jackal figure I just picked up on clearance recently. Then there's the Tombstone figure. There's a Kit Bash J. Jonah Jameson figure. Right below the fire escape is a custom Sandman figure. There's my old Toy Biz Mysterio figure with his dome painted silver. I was finally able to add a Toy Biz Scorpion figure to my collection. I got him for like $7 or $8, but his paint was in really, really bad shape, so I completely repainted him from head to toe to make him more presentable. Then we have the Chameleon figure. Moving back to the left again, we have the Ultimate Green Goblin Build-A-Figure Wave Carnage figure. The most recent Shocker figure from the Sandman Build-A-Figure wave, and I put a vest on him from an Ultimate Captain America figure to make him look more like a classic Shocker, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. Then we have a classic Beetle figure that I picked up on clearance recently. There's Kraven the Hunter. Then up front again, to the left, is Hobgoblin, Black Suit Spider-Man, or Symbiote Suit Spider-Man. There's Pizza Spidey, and then Morbius the Living Vampire. Over on this side, in the back there, standing on the Daily Bugle billboard, is a shoot and grab Spider-Man with a custom web line. Then we have the Ultimate Vulture figure that came in the Walmart exclusive 2-pack. The rest of the figures in this cube are Marvel Select figures, except for this custom Gwen Stacy figure that I made. It's basically a diamond Liv Moore figure from a TV show called iZombie with the alternate head sculpt from the Spider-Gwen Marvel Legends figure. Then we have the Marvel Select Lizard, Black Cat, Green Goblin, Rhino. All the way in the back there is Electro. Then we have the Marvel Select Venom. And then this is the Disney Store exclusive Marvel Select Spectacular Spider-Man. My wife actually bought that for me for my birthday last year while we were on vacation in Las Vegas. He's really great. He comes with a lot of accessories and alternate hands. This is basically Marvel Select's answer to Pizza Spidey. I'm not really happy with the way these guys are set up right now, but I love these NECA Predator figures too much to keep them in plastic tubs until I come up with a better display. In the back, towards the left, is the Celtic Predator from AVP. There's Scarface from a video game called Concrete Jungle. There's a Serpent Hunter Predator, and I don't know what he's from specifically, but I love the Xenomorph style mask he's got on. Back towards the left, again with a Predator skull on his shoulder, is a comic book style Bad Blood Predator. And Bad Blood's the kind of predator where other predators go, "Holy shit, this guy's a fucking maniac. Somebody needs to stop this guy." Then we have the Cracked Tusk Predator with that really cool silver helmet on. Back towards the left in the bright blue is the NES video game Predator. Then we have the Renegade Predator in green. Then we have what I assume is a knockoff of the Big Red Predator, because I bought him on eBay from a Chinese seller for 15 bucks at a time when I saw other people listing them for 80. But he came on card and everything about him seems legit. I even tested him to see if he had lead-based paint, and fortunately he doesn't. Next to him is a Predator that's also from a fan film called Batman Dead End. This is the Wasp Predator, and I really love that spear that he comes with the impaled Xenomorph skull on it. Moving back to the left again is the old Jungle Hunter Predator. There's Dutch Schaefer with an incredible likeness to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Then we have the Ultimate Jungle Hunter Predator. That's the one that has more articulation, more accessories. And then finally in the bright yellow, blue, and red color scheme towards the right is the Dark Horse comic book style Predator. For some reason, NECA really cheaped out on a few of these figures and didn't paint the fishnets on them, so I had to do that myself. But other than that, I'm really happy with these guys. I really slowed down on buying these over the last year or so. I never got into the old Kenner, Predator, or Aliens figures back when I was a kid, so I don't have that nostalgia for it, and some of those designs are a little too far out for my taste. But I really love the original Predator, the Predators movie, and I like the original Alien vs. Predator more than most people. I haven't read all of the Dark Horse comic books, but I like a lot of those too. Up on the wall above the last DTOF is a signed print of a Harley Quinn painting by an illustrator named Tommy Castillo that I got at a local comic book convention years ago. And right below that in the shadow box is another pair of unofficial real metal batarangs. These are obviously modeled after the batarangs that Christian Bale used in the Dark Knight trilogy. On top of this last cabinet, again we have some Star Wars lunchboxes in back, and then we have the Marvel Select Gladiator Hulk figure, flanked by the Marvel Legends movie Ragnarok, Thor, and Valkyrie. And I couldn't be happier with him unless he came with a snarling, open-mouth alternate head. I think this is another case where you can sub in a Marvel Select figure with your Marvel Legends, and it fits right in. I think he looks great, he's relatively inexpensive, he doesn't have the saggy, limp dick weapons like the Hasbro version came with, and I didn't have to buy figures I didn't want to complete him. I picked up the helmeted Thor figure on clearance for $9. I sold the Build-A-Figure parts on eBay for $3 or $4, which brought him down to $5 or $6. Then I got the Target exclusive Thor and Valkyrie 2-pack, marked down to $21. I kept the Valkyrie figure, the Heimdall sword, and all the accessories for Thor. And I sold the unhelmeted Thor figure for $7 or $8, which brought the price for Valkyrie and all the accessories down to $13 or $14. This is my Dark Knight Returns collection. In the front we have the DC Multiverse Carrie Kelly Robin, a couple of Batman Unlimited Batman figures. This first one I repainted myself. Then there's the DC Direct Carrie Kelly Robin. Then we have a pair of Walmart exclusive 30th anniversary Batman figures. I customized this one with a rifle. In between them is the Dark Knight Returns Joker, and behind them is the armored Batman figures, one with the unmasked head that came with the Walgreens exclusive Flash. There's a Multiverse Superman figure, and in the very back is the Walmart exclusive Son of Batman and the DC Multiverse Mutant Leader. I did a pretty thorough review of these figures and the custom display or backdrop a while back, so feel free to check that out if you're interested. And likewise, I did a video review of my entire Wonder Woman collection last year in anticipation of the Wonder Woman movie. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you to go check that video out after this one. Starting at the left in the front, there is a DC Direct Justice League Wonder Woman with a custom lasso of truth. Then we have the DC Collectibles New 52 Wonder Woman and the DC Universe Classics Wonder Woman, again with another custom lasso of truth. Starting back over to the left is the DC Multiverse Movie Wonder Woman, the DC Direct Classic Icons Wonder Woman, which is basically just the Alex Ross Wonder Woman with a new head sculpt. And she might be a little hard to see back there, but there's a DC Collectibles Earth 2 Wonder Woman, there's a DC Collectibles Bombshells Rosie the Riveter Wonder Woman figure, and the DC Universe Classics Donna Troy. And in the back are the DC Direct Cersei and Ares action figures on each side of my Play Arts Kai variant Wonder Woman figure. She's not only my favorite Wonder Woman figure, but she's one of my favorite action figures in my collection. She's got really nice articulation, she looks awesome, she's really fun to pose for photos. I'm really excited about the DC Multiverse Linda Carter Wonder Woman figure, and I really hope she looks as good as the John Wesley Shipp Flash figure does. I'm really looking forward to adding her to my collection, and I have the DC Multiverse Rebirth Wonder Woman on pre-order at Big Bad Toy Store. This is another display I'm not super happy with right now, so I'll probably change it before too long, but here in the bottom corner is a collection of oddball Indiana Jones figures. I have a lot of the 3 3/4 inch Hasbro stuff, but I just don't have a good place to display them all right now. So here's a handful of some of my favorites in front, including a couple of custom Indiana Jones figures using X-Men Origins Wolverine figures as a base. Then we have a Gentle Giant bust that I got for $7 shipped years ago after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull shit the bed and all the merchandise went on deep discount. Over on the right is a Disney exclusive 6-inch scale Indiana Jones figure with a kick-ass diorama base. Then there's another Disney exclusive 4-inch Indiana Jones figure with some crates that the relics from the Hasbro figures came packed in. And finally is a 12-inch Hasbro whip-cracking Indiana Jones figure. And again, I don't really collect a lot of 1/6 scale action figures, but I got a deal on this one. And he doesn't look too bad. I don't really think Sideshow or anyone else has really pinned down the likeness for Harrison Ford for a 12-inch figure. So if you're going to pick up an Indy figure that only kind of looks like Harrison Ford, then you might as well get one that's cheaper. Alright, so now we've reached the end of the first part of my collection room tour. And if you've made it this far in the video, then you deserve to be rewarded for your infinite patience. Just like with comics and books, I like to have physical copies of movies for my collection. I bought this Thor Ragnarok Blu-ray recently, and I'm not going to use the digital download, so here's the code for a free digital version of Thor Ragnarok. So to get a digital copy of Thor Ragnarok, download the free Movies Anywhere app, or visit redeemdigitalmovie.com, enter the code in the space here, and enjoy a free digital copy of Thor Ragnarok on me. This is a one-time only thing, so if you're the one who uses this code, then please leave a comment down below so other folks don't waste their time. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the next installment of my collection room tour. I really appreciate it if you'd like this video, share it with your friends, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future. So until next time, take care.